Chapter 7, A Peculiar Future. Even after the bull was out of sight, the laughter followed Virgil like a buzzing housefly until he finally reached the plain, red brick home of the Tanakas. It was hard to believe that someone like Kaori lived in such an ordinary house. Then again, her parents were the ones who had bought it, and Virgil knew from first-hand experience that kids can't pick their parents. Jen opened the front door, just a smidge. A pink jump rope looped behind her neck like a stethoscope. Virgil remembered the last time he jumped rope in gym class. It hadn't gone well. Password, she said. I've been here 5 times. Do I have to? Password. Virgil sighed. Venus rises in the west. Jen nodded and stepped aside. Virgil glanced down at the clock on his phone. He was right on time. Despite everything, he already smelled the incense drifting down the hall from Kaori's room, which she called the spirit chamber. Her room was spare. Other than her bed and rug, there was a table for incense, an enormous, complicated poster of constellations tacked to one of the walls, and books shoved in corners. Kaori sat cross-legged on the rug with a small drawstring bag in her lap. Incense smoke curled over her head and disappeared. Jen sat down next to her. Virgil sat down and perched his backpack carefully on his lap. Then he set the mango on the rug in front of him. My mom told me to bring you this, but don't eat it until it's ripe, he said. Kaori nodded at Jen, who picked up the mango with both hands and set it aside. Virgil peeked inside the backpack to check on Gulliver. Would you like Jen to take your things? Kaori asked. No, Virgil replied quickly. My guinea pig's in here. Jen's eyes lit up. Really? She made a move toward the bag, but Kaori told her to sit down. You have a rodent in your backpack, said Kaori, narrowing her darkly lined eyes. Technically, yes, said Virgil, but it's not like it's a rat or anything. It's a guinea pig. Rodents are rodents, Kaori paused. Now, let's get down to business. She lifted the drawstring bag. It looked like a sack of marbles, but when Virgil reached inside, he realized they were medium-sized stones, like the kind his mother used in the garden. Just pick one. Don't look, then put it on the rug between us, Kaori said. The rock he selected was nothing special, as far as he could tell. Gray, smooth, kind of shaped like a crescent moon. Kaori studied it like an archaeologist. Then she sat up straight and closed her eyes. You have a very peculiar future ahead of you, she said. She placed her index finger to her temples. Her dark hair was brushed out and spiked up, like she'd just stuck her finger in an electrical socket, and her lips were painted a light shade of blue. Very peculiar. In what way? Asked Virgil. Kaori pressed her lips together. Shh. Gulliver sneezed. Something will happen to you, Kaori continued. Virgil looked at Jen. She shrugged. That's it, said Virgil. Something will happen to me. I see darkness, said Kaori. Your eyes are closed. She sighed without opening her eyes. I know my eyes are closed, dummy. That's not what I meant. What did you mean then? What I mean is, I see you in a dark place. Dark how? Just dark. Virgil's heart pounded. The thump. His second most confidential piece of information. He was afraid of the dark. Yes, he was 11 and shouldn't be afraid anymore, but he couldn't help it. Maybe it was the tales Lola told him about evil 3-headed monkeys that thrived in darkness. On her stories of bad children who were plucked up by birds in the dead of the night. Darkness was a sightless beast. As far as Virgil was concerned, he swallowed a lump the size of Chet's basketball. I don't see anything else, Kaori said. She opened her eyes, then reached across Jen to pick up the mango. She sniffed it. How will I know when it's ripe? It'll be soft, but not too soft, said Virgil. He pushed his fear to the corner of his brain and checked on Gulliver again. Listen, I actually came here because I have a specific problem. What kind of problem? He looked at Kaori, then Jen, and pulled his thoughts together. He imagined the words standing up in a perfect line and coming out of his mouth clearly, without stuttering or skipping or sounding stupid. This was a big deal. He was about to reveal his first, most confidential piece of top secret information. The one that made him a grand failure. He said. Kaori tossed the mango from hand to hand. The thing is, he continued, there's this girl that I know. That I want to talk to. And, I've been kind of planning to talk to her since the beginning of the school year, but, the year is over now, and, I never exactly introduced myself, but I kind of have this feeling that we're meant to be friends, you know? Like a premonition, said Kaori. She set the mango down on the rug on the sign for Aquarius. Yeah, I guess, sure, yeah, Virgil's cheeks warmed. Jen picked at her elbow. Why didn't you just go up and say, hey, do you want to be my friend? That's what I do. Kaori shot her the evil eye. Hush, Jen. Virgil and I are in middle school. It doesn't work that way. Besides, Virgil's shy. Can't you see that? Flames of humiliation rose from Virgil's chest to his neck. I can help you, Kaori said. What's her name? We don't even go to the same school. You can tell me. I probably don't even know her. That was true. Kaori went to private school, but still, he wasn't ready to say her name aloud. This whole situation was embarrassing enough. Tell me her initials then, Kaori said. Oh, okay, Virgil took a deep breath. V.S. Kaori tilted her head, confused. But those are your initials. I know. Kaori's whole demeanor changed, as if she just sat on a hot plate. That's fate. It's like you are meant to be friends. There are no coincidences, Virgil, Salinas. Kaori was particularly giddy. Do you know her sign? He was almost too humiliated to admit it, but yes, he knew. All the kids in the Thursday resource room celebrated their birthdays with a sheet cake, and he had made a specific note when it was Valencia's turn. Birthdays were the only time the whole resource group gathered together. The rest of the time, they sat at tables with their one-on-one teacher working on whatever challenge had put them there. Virgil spent his hour with Miss Gigrich, learning about numbers, and Valencia spent her time with Mr. King. Although Virgil wasn't sure what Valencia needed to learn, she seemed pretty smart. It sounded like all they did was review her homework assignments for the week to make sure she understood everything. Sometimes Mr. King let her spend her hour reading. One time, Virgil snuck a look at her book, Untamed, The Wild Life of Jane Goodall. It was called, the night he Googled Jane Goodall and found out she was the world's foremost expert on chimpanzees. He promised himself he would read the book too, someday. She's a Scorpio, he said. Oh, adventurous and courageous, dynamic yet quick-tempered, enthusiastic and confident. I can see why you'd be intimidated to talk to V.S. She's so different than you. Virgil knew she didn't mean that as an insult, but it stung. Kaori bit her bottom lip, thinking Jen grabbed the ends of her jump rope and pulled them taut. Virgil looked down at Gulliver. A few heavy moments of silence ticked by. I know just the thing, Kaori said finally. She scooted forward and leaned in like she was about to give Virgil the most valuable piece of knowledge in the history of information. She was so close Virgil could smell her peppermint gum. Find 5 stones, each of a different size, then bring them to me next Saturday at 11 a.m. sharp. Got it? Got it. Oh, and one more thing. Kaori reached into her pocket. Do you still go with Lola to the Super Saver on Fridays? Yes. She handed him a business card. Bring this with you. If you don't mind, tack it on the bulletin board for me. I would do it myself, but my parents freak out when I give my name and phone number to random strangers. Virgil took the card from her. Kaori Tanaka, psychic. New clients welcome, no adults. Her cell phone number was printed on the back, put it where people can see, she added. Virgil said he would.